Welcome to the Daily Agenda. Beautiful autumn evening here in rural Nottinghamshire, back in the favourite spot. Tonight we're going to talk about demographics is destiny, or more to the point, DNA is destiny. But first of all, I'd like to share with you the information that over 1,000 new products are now available in our online store through Spreadshop. All of them make England Germanic again. There's a couple of new designs there, but over 1,000 new items of apparel, right from backpacks, kit bags, tracksuit bottoms, ski pants for women, t-shirts of every description, hoodies, you name it, even coats, jackets. There's just about everything there, you know, flasks, you name it. Go and take a look. The links will be posted on this video, and I'm very impressed with the way it's come out, and it looks really good, and I'm pleased with the amount of people who've ordered the merchandise, because as I said, it's important for us to get out there and take our brand of Mega, Make England Germanic Again, to the public. And it's important for people to see nationalists wearing this, because as I said, it sparks off a talking point. So I'll post the links for you again when I've uploaded this video, because some of the apparel there is just absolutely great. And of course we have loads of the Pogan stuff as well, and that also looks very, very impressive. So yeah, absolutely, everything's moving forward according to plan in that department. Now, in terms of demographics is destiny, which was always a big issue in the British National Party, particularly under John Tyndall, who made it a big issue, and quite rightly so, because demographics, if you look at it in the context of what we're campaigning for, is all about the Great Replacement, is it not? And we don't have to say that the Great Replacement is a theory or a conspiracy theory, because replacement migration is a fact, and it's in a UN report, is it not? So if anything, this conspiracy is entirely that of the United Nations to ethnically replace white people in their own countries. Not that we're going to allow it, because we're not. Never in a million years will we allow it. Primary balkanization will stop it anyway. That's when the great contest will come. I absolutely guarantee you it will not be in 2029 with fake Farage and deep fake reform at the next general election. The big contest, the big battle comes during primary balkanization, because fake Farage and the other centre-right con men can't stop it. Their policies are absolutely guaranteed to make primary balkanization happen. And so therefore demographics is destiny in that context, because they will make it happen just as surely as the centre left and the far left will, and the Trotskyist globalists. Okay, and so in terms of destiny, well, DNA really is destiny, because DNA determines where we come from, does it not? And I used DNA tests frequently, and you know, to chart my own family history. And it started with a dilemma over my father, and before he died I said to him, would you like to know who your genetic father was before you die? Do you still want to know? And he confirmed that he did, and he said, how do we do that? And I said, well, we'll both take Y-DNA tests, because obviously we've got the same Y-DNA, and I'm apparently the apple of my father's eye, the very image of him, which is true. And so therefore we both took DNA tests and sent them off to Ancestry, Y-DNA, because only men have Y-DNA. And through that, we connected with a raft of Hubbard cousins in the United States. And it was a gamble, but with one of the strands of that large family, that nexus of Hubbards in the United States, or Hobarts, as other people pronounce it, I actually connected. I made a very good, lucky, strong connection with a James Hubbard in Kentucky, Lexington, Kentucky, and he filled in nearly all of the blanks for us. And I have great respect and admiration for my cousin, James Hubbard, and I wish him well. And I know he's still alive in Lexington in Kentucky and doing well in his business. And I thank James for everything that he did. You know, without him, we would not have made the progress that we did. He was a very kindly and decent gentleman. Really, truly he was. One of the best Americans I've ever encountered. One of the best men I've ever encountered on this earth, in truth. And my father was deeply grateful to him as well. And to me, I wrote the book Sons of Soldiers based on it. And it's about our joint family history, and all of the Hubbard, the American Hubbards are in it as well. In fact, I'll post a link, the Amazon link, when I upload this video. And yeah, I mean, it's costly. It can be expensive. Years later, I decided that I'd do some comparative tests. And because I'd only used Y-DNA at that time. My mother also had a mtDNA done as well, because she got hooked on it, and that was very revealing as well, and threw up her Celto-Germanic history and ancestry. And so some years later I decided to do an autosomal, the latest DNA testing, and once I'd done that, I found it even more fascinating, and so I decided to explore a service called mytrueancestry.com. And so there you upload your autosomal DNA file, which is supplied to you by Ancestry, or whichever service that you actually use. You can upload it to mytrueancestry, and there they cross-match you to skeletal remains dating back over 5,000 years. And I was absolutely fascinated to discover that I was actually cross-matched to several skeletal remains in southern Sweden over 5,000 years ago. And of course my mother's side has a very strong Swedish ancestry from the name Ingvar, the sons and daughters of Yngwie Frey, and in anglicised to Inga. Inga is one of the rarest surnames you'll ever find in the British Isles. There's only a very tiny percentage of people with the surname Inga. And they're all my cousins, quite frankly. And they all came here with the Great Heathen Army, Vikinga. And most of them originally were from southern Sweden, although they spread out across Norway, Denmark and Iceland. And obviously they came here, bringing with them that thread of the family from which I grew. And so it really is truly fascinating, and it's particularly fascinating in the sheer depth and complexity of the testing that's actually carried out, and the exact percentages that are given to you. I mean, I discovered on my mother's side that she was descended from the first Angle or Saxon queen of East Anglia, nicknamed Queenie by the archaeogeneticists, by virtue of the fact that she was buried in the richest grave at the top of the burial mound, which was the Germanic custom at that time, that the highest strata of their society was buried at the top of the burial mound, for obvious reasons. It denoted status. And that was fascinating, because I thought, well, you know, that proves my Anglo-Saxon ancestry conclusively. And all of my ancestry is Celtic, Germanic, with some Roman, small amount of Roman. I think it's about 5 to 6%. And it's particularly interesting in terms of determining nationality, is it not? Ethnicity. You see, this is the issue with the centre-right, is they believe anyone can be British, English, Scottish, Irish, Welsh, any other European nationality. Ethno-nationalists reject that completely, because ethno-nationalists are, in truth, the vanguard, the pinnacle of our people. We don't buy into all of these corrupting fantasies from the Ziobots, and that's what they are. And if you want to know what a Ziobot is, well, we all know what a bot is, don't we? As in porn bots. Yeah? So a Zio is a Zionist bot. Ziobot is Zionist bot. And that's what all of these centre-right leaders ultimately are. They're all Ziobots, and that includes Donald Trump and Rubio and Vance. They're all Ziobots. We don't buy into their inclusivity fantasy. Their DEI. They pretend to be opposed to DEI, but spout exactly the same inclusivity nonsense, just in a slightly different way. And so we don't buy into any of that. DNA is destiny. And DNA is to be found everywhere that we settle in terms of skeletal remains. And it's not just about DNA when testing these graves. It's also about the cultural relics and artifacts that are buried in those graves, which determines tribal ancestry. It's not just about the DNA, the science. And I think it's terribly important that nationalists should, if they've not taken DNA tests, to do them and to go to My True Ancestry so that they can argue from a position of great strength in terms of what their real ancestry is. That's why it's called mytrueancestry.com, because it gives you your true ancestry. In fact, some of the ancestry that was uncovered on my mother's side was a Celtic Nordic gladiator, an Iberarchum, who was fought to the death in the arena for a visiting Roman emperor. And he was discarded in a mass grave with other gladiators. One of them was from Egypt, North Africa. For those who don't have a very good grasp of geography, and all nationalists do, obviously, centre-right don't. And they were all killed in the arena at Iberarchum, or the amphitheatre. And so when these people are always ranting and whinging about slavery, man, it's because of slavery, man. Yeah, well, some of my ancestors were forced into slavery and had to fight to the death for the entertainment of Roman emperors, no less. Do you see me ranting and raving and whinging about my slave ancestors, man? I don't do it because I don't suffer from the same narcissistic validation drama, and I don't need to do any race baiting and grifting on the basis of it as well. You know, that's me. I'm totally different, and I'm pleased that I am. But there's also a very interesting aspect to it, is that, you know, these Christian nationalists who continue to cause problems, because that's all they've ever done is cause problems within nationalism, because they are a corrupting influence. And they will always be a corrupting influence. And I said this in the podcast last night, and they've been playing their old narcissistic drama again today. Oh, we're the victims of history routine. I wonder where they got that idea from. Yes, it comes from culture and generational narcissism. Just forget all the acts of mass murder they've carried out in the past to establish that religion. That's how that religion was established. Not convinced? I'll go and read The Darkening Age by Catherine Nixie, yes. Herself a Christian. It explains it to you there quite clearly. You know, I'm talking of Saxons. Thousands of them were actually butchered by Charlemagne, the Christian, evil Christian bigot, who'd swallowed the Abrahamic mind virus and ordered these Saxons to convert or else. And they refused to convert, and they were butchered, beheaded. Over 3,000 of them were beheaded in one morning. Others had their arms and legs cut off. And that was the general policy across Europe for those who refused to convert, was choose which limb you're going to lose. You know, it's just this whole fantasy about a religion of love, peace, light and forgiveness, you know, and harmony and tolerance is just drivel. Absolute drivel. Its entire history proves otherwise. But because now the boot's on the other foot and they don't like it, they're having to play the narcissistic validation game. The communal narcissism of, oh, we're the poor innocent victims of history. Please don't hate upon us like we hated upon all of our ancestors in the past. And so the point I'm making in this context is that most of them, refuse to have DNA test because it shatters this 13th lost tribe of Israel fantasy that they bought into, and they like to spout it in our direction, and they cause constant division, and this is why I don't want them. And I don't care what they have to say about it. I don't care about the Hugh Antonies of this world. In fact, speaking of that man, one of my subscribers came on last night and said he tried to watch him, and then, you know, 2/3 of the way through his podcast, he started ranting about Christ is King, and it just became a religious Bible thumping session. And this is the point with them, is they just cannot separate politics from religion. And it's just a massive turn-off. You go onto the doorsteps across this country and start pulling that routine and just see the reaction you get. That's not how we're going to save our people. We're not going to save this country by being religious fruitcakes and cranks. End of. And there's not only that, it's all the division they cause within the ranks of nationalism. So I would invite all of them to go and have a DNA test and to upload it to mytrueancestry.com, and by doing so they can then provide us with the data, the resulting data, and then they can explain to us why they're not connected to the Semites, why they have no Semite DNA. And why they're not actually the 13th lost tribe of Israel at all. And that's the reason why they don't take these DNA tests, because it just shatters their fantasy, their fairy tale. And so the way they usually respond to it is, that's the devil's work, it's the devil's work. And then the others go into a massive Jewish conspiracy theory. The Jews, they're doing this so they can steal our DNA and make bioweapons to target us. Well, if you want to look at bioweapons, demographics is the biggest bioweapon that's been used against white people, isn't it? Not DNA tests on ancestry.com and such like. But they've always got some weird and wonderful conspiraloon theory up their sleeve. And it's not if it's not the 13th lost tribe of Israel, it's the Jewish bioweapon using SMPs and molecules. Goodness me, honestly. And you wonder why, nationalism has struggled for so long whilst harbouring these crazy people. Come on, get real with me. Let's get back into the real world, shall we? We cannot continue with these crazy people. It is that simple. And they can send all the whinging, whining, narcissistic validatory messages they want to me. I couldn't care less. I'll just ignore them. Sit back and laugh at them, in truth, is what I will do. Okay? And I trust that matter is perfectly clear. And I shouldn't have to make it clear again. But for the good nationalists out there, the real ethno-nationalists who want to be able to argue from a position of strength in terms of why ethnicity determines nationality, then an autosomal DNA test will cost about £40, and then if you upload it to mytrueancestry.com, there's various levels that you can go up to in terms of sophistication. I've spent about $1,000 on mytrueancestry.com in total, and I'm quite satisfied. I've got 750 cross matches to skeletal remains. I'm quite content with it. I don't feel the need to actually spend any more. The information is thoroughly detailed, and the reason why I spent that much is because, in truth, it was a passion, a really deep passion, long after my father actually passed on. And so, yeah, I just got nothing but good out of it, quite frankly, just positive things. And in truth, if spending $1,000 gives you such positive tidings and connects you with so many good people, which is what those DNA tests did, in truth, I've connected with some lovely people, some very important people through those DNA tests, and I'm thoroughly pleased about it, and it was money well spent. And I've met some very interesting cousins in the United States as well, and they share exactly the same attitude as I do, really, for the most part, is that, they detest their government in the same way as we detest our government. And so don't go blaming all Americans for the US administration in the same way as all Brits could not be blamed for HM government or foreign occupation government, more to the point. It's a commonality, a common thread. And I can only say positive things came out of it, out of DNA testing for me. And it also gave me a book, Sons of Soldiers, which did very well. In fact, the hardback version, which is the hardback edition, has been out of stock for years now, basically. It's nearly, 20 years since I published that. That looked absolutely wonderful, absolutely beautiful. I will actually, at some stage, it's quite a complex task. It's not quite as simple as people think, and I will redesign it and update it and release another revised edition at some stage in the future. I don't know when it'll be. It certainly won't be this year, I don't think, because I've got so much else to do, particularly in terms of rebuilding nationalism. rebuilding a sensible nationalism away from all the religious cranks and the Hitler-simping morons, that is. And that is the big task that faces me. And so that's my first and foremost priority. But yeah, I will get round to it at another stage. But in truth, I can only say this. It will help you enormously as an ethno-nationalist to be able to argue from a position of great and fundamental strength as a vanguard of nationalism. Remember we spoke about vanguardism last night? It will help you to propound that position with a much greater authority, and so therefore I'd advise you to do it. Only good things can come from it, and only good things came from it, from me and my family. It caused no real divisions in my family, in truth, and in the first instance I tried to give my father some peace, and I hope it did, because he did eventually discover his genetic father. With all his faults, I might add, you know, womanizer, gambler, alcoholic, and oh well, these things happen, do they not? And you know, it doesn't matter that he was born into wealth. He wasted it all anyway, you know, the genetic grandfather. But I think it's terribly important for people, for nationalists, but people in general, but particularly for ethno-nationalists, to have these DNA tests done, to be able to counter both the arguments of the left and also the centre-left. Sorry, the centre-right, is it? Which is it, centre-right or centre-left? I get confused at times because they use so much centre-left ideology and lexicon that it's just impossible to differentiate between them. So anyway, yes, it's... I have to keep making that point because I know it annoys them so much. That's why I do it. And it's very important that nationalists know the difference. And so therefore I argue that it is by far the best thing for ethno-nationalists to do, to take these detailed DNA tests, start with an autosomal and then work your way up progressively from there. Make sure you use mytrueancestry.com, because that will cross-match you to skeletal remains, which is most important. So when they start arguing about, oh, there used to be black Vikings and there used to be black Anglo-Saxons, etc., you can just trash all of that nonsense easily with scientific fact, can't you? Scientific fact. And scientific fact is most important. And what you will always get from the left when you're using scientific fact of this nature is they will always call it pseudoscience. And the centre-right, of course, will always try and argue against it because that's what they're paid to do by the Zio-bots. But as my cousin James Walker Hubbard said in Kentucky many years ago, and I often think about him, he said, human beings lie and cheat and deceive, but DNA never lies.